Welcome. This presentation is to introduce the City of Beaumont's Affordable Housing Strategy Project, which is currently in progress. This presentation will cover what affordable housing is, why we're doing an affordable housing strategy, how it's being prepared, and what our next steps are. I want to start by getting us on the same page about what we're trying to achieve. This strategy is looking at housing affordability needs in Beaumont. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation considers housing to be affordable when it is in adequate condition, not needing major repairs, has a number of bedrooms that's suitable for the household, and costs less than 30% of the household's pre-tax income. This includes all carrying costs, so rent, mortgage, utilities, taxes, condo fees, and so on. You can see from this definition that affordability can vary immensely depending on the household. It's related to housing prices, but also to incomes, and by extension to things like the number of earners and dependents in the household. The impact of exceeding that 30% threshold is also greater at a lower income because the extra housing cost leaves a lot less left over for other needs. Based on this, we can also note that there's a wide range of things that can be considered affordable housing in this context, depending on the household. It could include an owner-occupied detached home, an apartment or townhouse rented at market rates, with or without a rent supplement for the tenant, housing that can offer below market rents due to construction subsidies, housing operated by a nonprofit provider, cooperative housing, basement or garden suites, and many, many more. And this brings us to the housing continuum, which is a common model for thinking about housing needs. It illustrates a spectrum of housing situations, passing from the need for a higher to a lower level of financial and social support for residents. This is the image from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, although many different versions of this have been created, and some of them show it in a circle rather than in a line. Notably, although most of them are linear, they're not meant to imply that market homeownership is the necessary or desirable end goal for all households. And we're also conscious of the role of government support and intervention in the operation of the housing market, and not just in social housing or rent assistance. The goal of this project is to look at housing needs in Beaumont and to develop a plan for how the city and its partners can help meet those needs, wherever they fall on this continuum. If something isn't needed, we'll focus on it less. And if a need is shared with other municipalities, our strategy can look at how we can partner with them to meet it. We can consider both the needs of existing Beaumont residents and needs that are expected to arise in the future. So why an affordable housing strategy? Well, first of all, we know that there's research documenting a really wide range of benefits linked to affordable housing. The clearest one is greater household stability and financial security, and in turn that can help improve a really wide range of things, including resident health, school achievement, engagement with the broader community, and even strengthened economies from patronizing local businesses. And this appears to be especially true in mixed income communities and smaller scale, well-maintained housing developments. Developing a range of affordable housing in Beaumont is also a direction of the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Growth Plan and our own municipal development plan, which is sort of the master planning document for growth in Beaumont. Both of these policies set as a goal to support development throughout the Edmonton region of complete communities. And these are communities that offer a convenient mix of housing, services, jobs, community services, and transportation options. We also have our Beaumont Social Master Plan, which also supports preparing an affordable housing strategy. And you may be thinking, these are all great benefits, but Beaumont is a fairly wealthy community. Do we need a strategy for affordability? And the answer is, there are some gaps in the range of affordable housing options available in Beaumont. We're still working on our full needs assessment as part of this project, but here are some of the things that we know. First of all, Beaumont is a family-oriented community and it's growing quickly. And with that has come an increasing proportion of seniors and of single-person households who may need options other than detached homes. Detached homes are about 80% of the houses in Beaumont, compared to about 57% regionally, although we are starting to see a greater mix of housing types, so things like semis, row homes, apartments, and so on. There's also a much higher proportion of owned homes in Beaumont versus the region as a whole, about 85% versus about 65% for the region. And that suggests that there might be housing types that are desired but not supplied here, if you think back to that continuum. We found that housing, including condos, is not affordable to purchase for a large proportion of lone parent families and single person households in Beaumont. And we've learned that almost 40% of Beaumont renter households spend more than 30% of their income, spend more than that affordable housing threshold on shelter. Nearly 6% of households in Beaumont, about 3% of owners, and close to a quarter of renters are in core housing need, which means that their housing is not suitable, but they can't afford to move. And there are some demographic groups that are more vulnerable to this than others. And on the most supportive end of the housing continuum, there may also be a need for better access to emergency housing and transitional or supportive housing for Beaumont youth and families escaping violence. So a couple of notes on the process for this strategy. Affordable housing strategies are very commonly prepared by municipalities, and they usually take a similar approach. They start, first of all, by understanding and documenting the needs to be addressed and developing a vision and goals for where they would like the city to end up. We have a working group for this project that's made up of local organizations and city staff, as well as a consultant with knowledge of housing planning, helping us do this and guide the project. The process will engage stakeholders and the public in a discussion of those needs and what should be done in response. And you can see from the star that that's where we are right now with our survey, this public session, focus group we have run, and some interviews we've been doing with local developers. Then a strategy needs to develop a plan based on the identified needs and priorities, circle back to the public and stakeholders to confirm that we've got it right, and please watch for this in the winter. And then finally, the strategy will be adopted by City Council and move towards implementation. So that's the basic process for this strategy in Beaumont. We have a draft vision statement for the project that was developed by the working group, and the strategy is meant to be oriented to achieve this. And so the vision, as you can see, is for Beaumont to become an inclusive, equitable community offering a diversity of safe, affordable housing options that meet the needs of all residents. We did receive a couple of suggestions for the vision statement during the survey, and we'll review it with the working group as part of drafting the strategy. And I also wanted to review some of the key things we've heard so far from our initial working group meeting, our survey, and some of our other discussions. Regarding key housing needs, the working group and some survey respondents have flagged high rents and also high cost to buy. And there were also a number of survey respondents who were concerned that property taxes are making it especially expensive. Both the working group and the survey highlighted the need for affordable options that are appropriate for seniors, so that are accessible, that are fairly small size, and also a lack of supportive housing for people with special needs, and a lack of emergency housing for, say, youth leaving conflict at home. More generally, people have indicated that they don't find that there are enough rental units at affordable prices in Beaumont, especially in smaller sizes. In our survey, we also asked what type of housing people thought Beaumont needed more of. We listed a number of different options ranging from detached homes to apartments to townhouses to mobile homes, and every option we listed received at least a couple of respondents in support, especially detached homes, assisted living facilities, garden and garage suites, and low-rise apartments. We've also heard some concerns about affordable housing. The strongest ones that we've heard are, first, a worry that affordable housing would increase the density in the city or change the city's character. A number of people have made the point that any initiatives that the city takes for affordable housing should be careful to retain flexibility for developers to build according to the market demand and not add lots of regulations. And several people were also asking whether this is something the city should be spending time and resources on, that it should be left to other cities to address or other levels of government to address. And so these are all concerns that we are keeping in mind, and we believe that we can take steps to address some of the housing needs that have been identified while respecting the needs and wishes that underlie those concerns. So that concludes the overview of the affordable housing strategy. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about this project. If you have questions or comments, please don't hesitate to get in touch at planning@beaumont.ab.ca. Thank you.